My first published work. And I love what the British essayist, Paiko Aya said. He said the beauty of any first time is that it leads to 1,000 others. The beauty of every first time is that it leads to 1,000 others. And I tell you that this is my first outing, and I bet you many more will come in quick succession. Many, 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 many. So I'll tell you a story in opening. That there was this certain man who would leave his home early every morning under the guise of looking for the proverbial what? Daily bread for his family. Daily his wife looked up to his return with the needed good, only for him to show up reeking of alcohol and a mixture of acrid smell of onions on suya. You know that smell? Onions on suya. And he will dangle a toothpick between his lips. Responsibility was remorseless. Don't you want to vote? Total vote cast, both from the APC, the PDP, this represented just about 34%. Represented just 34%. In other words, these 34% are the active people. Though the 66% that are inactive are in the majority. But for the purpose of changing leadership or speaking for leadership, they become a minority, even in their majority. Now, out of these 434,000 that was gathered by 434,000 votes out of the 846 that was cast, 434,000 was gathered by the winner, which represents just 17.5%. What am I trying to lead us to? I want to define the active citizens here for you to know why we are here. So these statistics, what does it show? It shows that we are actually a sleeping society. Sleeping, docile. So no wonder we are full of these tools and sold tears. The enemy came and sold what? These tools. So the things we do not want are the things that happen to us by virtue of our inability to rise up and make the necessary change that will affect us and our generation in the positive. Now there's this saying that I love so much by Albert Einstein, the German theoretical physicist. He said, I love him not for his accomplishment in physics. I love him much more for his quotes. He said, the world is not dangerous because of those who do harm. It's not because of them. What is their percentage? The percentage of those who do harm to the society is equivalent to the percent, let me say like the 17% that came out to vote for the governor. Very minute number. He said it's not because of those who do harm, but because of those who look at it without doing anything. Albert Einstein. Show me the leader, I will tell you who the people are. So if we complain that we have a sleeping president, if we complain that we have an inactive governor, then we should look at ourselves. We are actually a sleeping people. Show me the leader, I will tell you who the people are. Now, this is true because, even as I stated before in the statistics, leaders are a product of the people. No leader ever emerges without the support of the majority of its active citizens. Now, I had already defined what the active citizens are. Though the active may be in minority, but because the majority are docile and inactive, they inadvertently become irrelevant. They inadvertently become irrelevant. And I always say this, and I'm yet to be countered, that nobody can rig in an election where he is not popular. Nobody. If you remove the rigging factor out of the votes of Otom in 2019, remove the rigging factor out of the votes of Jime in 2019, Otom will have still won. He will have still won. So nobody rigs where he is not popular. It is the degree of his popularity that gives him a window to rig. When I contested the election in 2007, and I had heavy challenge in my council ward, where ACN at that time was very strong by virtue of the strength of a certain godfather. We had 20 polling units in my council ward. Notwithstanding that strength, I still won in my polling unit because I didn't see who would come and beat me in my polling unit. You cannot rig where you are not popular. So the challenge in nation building and the causes of infrastructural decay in the country today is the lack of a qualitative leadership recruitment process. And this bears root in morals we are ingrained with at the formative stages from our homes. That is why this book is out at this time. When we're talking about the fullness of marriage, we are going back to the roots. The type of leaders we have, if we check them, there is a fundamental decay from the homes. We grew up in a society that we knew each other. There are some of our friends who walked naked on the street by virtue of insanity. However, to whatever level in which they got cured of insanity, they still show traces. That is how it is when that foundation is laid. It's impossible to remove every trace of it. It's like a cancer. It's like a cancer. So for instance, Ape Aku remains to date the referral yardstick for measuring democratic good governance in Benue. And he didn't just happen on us. He didn't come to us like an accident. He was well trained. He had well-trained roots in administration from the then Benue Plateau State, where he had even challenged the authorities on issues of corruption. So he prepared himself that when the opportunity came upon him, he wouldn't go through the path which he had publicly challenged. Now he went back to our local government systems, became a chairman of a local government before rising up to be a governor. A system that has now been completely neglected. So he didn't just happen on us. So when people are talking of Ape Aku as a referral, it is not an accident. It is because he was trained on it. He was prepared for it. These foundational learning and growing opportunities are no longer available in our polity, thereby robbing the society of the needed experience on the job for impactful representation. Impactful representation. There is no man that goes into the legislature on a first stint that does not mess up to some great extent. I'm happy my majority leader is saying he was privileged to go for 2 terms. He tried the 3rd term. The people in his place told him to come back. You are not the only one. But he will agree with me that since politics came to Benue, maybe just 2 or 3 people have moved with that experience from the state legislature to the federal house. I think Ati and then the former speaker. And who again? See how old politics is. What are we doing? We are robbing ourselves of the needed experience to gain when we go to the federal level. That is why we carry people who are new. They don't even know what standing rules are. You take them to Abuja, they don't even know where Mitama is. They don't know the colors of legislation. So it takes them a whole 4 years to understand the rigors, whereas you have experiences wasting back home. Experiences wasting back home. And I'm happy that the Boko Taka people are not doing that mistake this time. Hallelujah. Am I speaking? So until we build and develop our experiential levels, interrogating and correcting ourselves in the process, we will only continue living on our trail the mark of subjective ineptitude along the political space. So one man came some time back in respect to training and said he was born without shoes. You know that man. And he exuded poverty to win our favor as a sign of humility. You know, they come to us with all manners of colorations. Say they had no shoes. And what is that? Exuding poverty. My brothers, poverty is not a qualifier for humility. In fact, most of the people with such background tend to end up being the meanest. They exert some primitive form of vengeance in anger to society for making them go through what they went through. So you don't look at that as a qualifier. So if you do not have a foundation that makes you to see wealth, if you do not have that kind of foundation, self-accumulation, self-acquisition will be to you everything that matters. You will definitely not be able to manage wealth if you have not had a foundation on seeing wealth as a vanity. You will only exhibit acts of depravity. You will look at life as a competition. You will remember that childhood struggle. Now me will chop this meat. Now me pick this meat first. You know, to beat another person to a piece of meat. That attitude they carried even to the highest office. They carry it. So until you are trained, you can never trail. For you to be a trailblazer, you must be trained. And it is not just about training, you must exhibit the experience you have got in training in practical application. So what must we do? An American writer, William Faulkner, said, "You cannot swim for new horizons until you have the courage to lose sight of the shore." You cannot swim to new horizons. You know, when you get the ocean, even if you are not swimming, you are in a boat. By the time the boat starts leaving the shore, you are no longer seeing land. If you have a phobia for water, you start getting jittery. Talk less of one who is swimming. So if you cannot swim for new horizon until you lose courage to lose sight of shore, you cannot. That is what William Faulkner said. So what is the challenge? We must therefore go back and reinstill values in our homes. We must rebuild the right foundation for our society. That is why this book has come at a time such as this. We must be bold to stand firm against what is wrong, though seen as the norm, even if it means standing alone. Just take a look at our democratic checks and balances systems, for instance. Whereas the legislature ought to stand strong and check the exercise of the executive in all areas, they chicken out and become completely subservient. And by this singular act, they make the executive to become irresponsible. I've shared this line of thought with a lot of people. I told them that even if you bring a stone to make him a governor or the president, and you have the quality that is required in the legislature, that president will perform. But I hear in some states that some speakers are calling their governors daddy. That is bastardization, not just of the constitution, of humanity generally. This is even like that docile woman who sat quietly in submissive foolishness and allowed her husband to grow from carelessness to irrepressible irresponsibility. She just sat down quietly. Every time man come and reeking with alcohol with toothpick, and then she say, it's okay, now my husband. Until the woman understands that her submission is not for imbecilic and stupid subjection, she will miss the application of the potency of the power inherent in her being from creation. In fact, she will become an embarrassment to her creator for her inability to exhibit purpose. Subjection is not stupidity. Subjection is not stupidity. When you get a copy of this book, you see it reeled out. William Golding, another British novelist, said, "I think women are foolish to think they are equal to men." He said, "They are superior and always have been." Even as I captured in this book that You are all here to witness. The book that you are all here to witness, it's unveiling an official presentation to the world. I captured somewhere in it. I said the woman is the home molder. She's the builder. She's the preserver. She has no grounds for creation and intervention. She has no responsibility towards originating and bringing home. She has no responsibility to that. It is the man that brings home. The man will go out, bring the raw yam, she will cook it, and it will become food. She changes the gold ore to find beautiful gold. Rather, what is it? She makes the best out of everything that is given to her by the man. She is principally subjected to whatever he brings forth with a duty of making it better and turning it into a finished product. That is why for those of you who do sciences or you know about this humanities, the physiology of man, you know that you give a woman an X chromosome and she will mold you a woman. So it is stupidity in men who say my wife is giving birth to female. It's a stupid man. It is what you give her. Whatever you give her, even the determination of the sex of the child, it is what the man gives her. So give the woman an X and she will mold you a woman. Give her a Y and she will give you a man. She is just to make better. But if you take that sperm and drop it here, it will be a waste. So the women must understand the power in perfection that God has placed them under women, not under the men. So when they waste their time talking about equality, it's a very dangerous, devilish diversion. Whereas the power is there. I told a couple of guys in the meeting, I said, the man is just like a balloon, inflated balloon, just one pin, boom, he's down. If a woman understands that, the man will be very careful when he comes around her. So the legislature, in closing, is a woman. The wife of the executive's youth. You here today are witnesses to the birthing of a new generation. A well-groomed, focused, and morally right society. A people trained